I'm quite a bit of a pacer, so watch the bouncing ball. First of all, I want to talk about compliance officers. You're my favorite people. I didn't have as many of you to talk to when I started in this business. There weren't quite as many companies that were interested in having good compliance departments. And on a lot of levels, the reason I like you so much is that compliance officers are the people who are going to save capitalism. The biggest threat to capitalism isn't socialism or communism, it's the capitalists themselves. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about what it is that I see your job as, and the things that are done very, very well, the things that are not done quite so well. To start with, I have been giving speeches like this for 20 years. And the speech always was basically, a train wreck is coming. If we don't get on top of what is going on in corporate America, a train wreck is coming. I can't say that anymore because the train wreck came. And so now we have to go through, how did we get where we were? How did we get to the point where things got so bad that basically the entire world economy fell apart? And how do we stop this? What is the lesson that you as compliance officers have to take away from the events of the last few years? Now, there is a reality here. I live for Diet Pepsi, so periodically I'll come over here and take a sip. There is a reality here that people oftentimes fail to recognize. And that is, compliance is not a system of rules. Ethics is not a system of rules. Many of the places that I have written about that have had significant scandals had wonderful, wonderful systems of rules. What they didn't have was a compliance procedure that allowed for them to avoid scandal. Let's look at something that just happened. Goldman Sachs, just the other day, got sued by the Securities and Exchange Commission for fraud. Now, the fraud was not that somebody violated an ethics rule. The fraud was not that someone stole money or something like that. The fraud was they constructed something in business that was wrong. They constructed a business product that caused people to lose their money because the product in and of itself was laced with conflict. And the conflict, when looked at appropriately, is viewed as fraud. Now that is business. That is the way a business is structured, the way the business is run. And that is what a compliance officer really needs to be focusing on. There are a lot of compliance officers that do. There are a lot of compliance officers that don't. And what I want to do is take you through basically my own history of what I have seen over the years to lay out why it is that the way business operates is the single most important element of a compliance officer's job. If you go back to the takeover eras, the period in the late 1980s or mid to late 1980s when every company was up for purchase or acquisition or merger. You had a circumstance where for years everything was working fine, and then it blew up. There were lots of bankruptcies, there were lots of problems. Why did they blow up? What happened? Well, if you look very carefully at the bankruptcies that took place starting in 1989 going through the early 1990s, 95% of them were companies that were involved in takeover, these are takeover bankruptcies, were involved in takeovers from 1987 to 1989. Just at the end. Why was that? Because ultimately, the deals that were available to be done that were good were gone. At that point, people had to make a choice. I, as an investment banker, stand to make millions of dollars if I do the next deal. And if I don't do the next deal, I stand to make nothing. And not only that, I might lose my job. So let's find the next deal. We can make the numbers work. Anytime anybody in any corporation uses the words numbers and work in the same sentence, you've got a problem.